In this movie, we're going to take a quick look at the interface for Adobe Premiere Pro 6. Now, first off, your screen may look different than my screen for a couple of reasons. First of all, the resolution on my screen is pretty low, so you can actually see everything in this movie. It's 1280 by 720. And your screen may be a lot larger, so the icons may appear smaller and you actually may see more detail. But don't worry about that. If you want, you can just sit back and watch and see where everything is. If you've played with Premiere Pro prior to watching this movie, you may have moved some things around already and it may not match. In that case, you may want to go up to the Window drop-down menu under Workspace and select Reset Current Workspace. This is really useful if you've moved things around anyway and you want to get back to the default setting. Now that we've gotten that all cleared up, let's take a look at the interface for Adobe Premiere Pro 6. Let me quickly go through the four main areas of the interface. In the upper left-hand corner is your source monitor. And this is where you'll decide the in points and out points of your clips, for instance, where a clip may start and end, because you'll probably be shooting a lot more video than you'll be putting into your timeline. As you move over to the right is your program monitor. Now, this is exactly what your viewer sees. This is your finished show. So if you've done any kind of compositing, in this case, the narrator, which we've put over a generic background because she was shot on green screen, and as I play my video in my timeline, this will update. Now, the timeline is directly underneath the source monitor, and as you see, there's a variety of colored clips here, lines that say video 1, 2, and 3, and audio 1 and 2. The timeline, or sometimes referred to as your sequence, is basically a graphical view of your program from beginning to end, where everything on the left is the beginning of the show and everything on the right is the end of the show. And if I press the space bar to play the timeline, you'll see that the program monitor will update and show me exactly what my viewer will see.
The sun, and it's literally lighting up their lives.
Now, as we continue clockwise around the interface, on the far left corner is your project pane. And this is where all your media is stored, as well as copies of your sequences or your timeline. Now, you also may be noticing that in each of these four primary areas, there's additional tabs. This one, as you can see, it says Project Interface, Media Browser, Info, Effects, and then I start running out of space. If you're using a higher resolution monitor, you may not be running out of space, but I want to point out something that's very useful. Right above each of the tabs in each of the quadrants is a little slider bar, and I can move this slider left and right to see more areas that may be obscured because my resolution is smaller. And you'll notice this is available not only in the lower left pane, but in every pane that has a variety of tabs. Now, we'll look at customizing the Adobe Premiere Pro 6 interface in a later movie, but this gives you an idea of the four main areas. There's a couple of other things I just want to point out before we get started, and we'll go into a lot more detail as we cover each one of these locations as we're learning to edit. On the far right are your audio meters, and you'll notice when I play by hitting the space bar, I can actually see the volume levels or the decibel levels of the program that I'm creating. To the left of the sequence are a variety of icons, which are your tools. Now, if you've ever worked in almost any other piece of software, even word processing programs, you know you can switch to different tools to accomplish different tasks. And as we learn to edit, we'll go over what each tool means. You'll also notice underneath the source and the program windows are a series of buttons. And this is just like working a DVD player where you can play, stop, rewind, go to the beginning of the show, and we'll go over these buttons throughout the course. But for now, you should have a general sense of navigating and what each of these windows do in Adobe Premiere Pro 6.